our theme today is revolutionary insights, and it's the way that life happens sometimes. You get an opportunity to chat with many, well, I do, many different individuals, many different people. And sometimes arising out of those discussions, and they can be quite innocent or, quite specific. Something else can come out of that, and you say, no, definitely, this is something that we need to share. And that happens sometimes when I chat with Dr. Adrian Daisley. Adrian has been on our show before. He is a certified New Insights life coach. And one of the things that I said to him was, Adrian, life is really, really difficult for men, not only during the pandemic, but life in general. And perhaps instead of approaching Father's Day with shouting out fathers and so on, let's look at some of the things which might be causing them some stress. So, Adrian, welcome once again. Nice to have you with us, and thanks for taking the time. I know it's a really busy time for you at the moment.
Yes.
But
the pleasure is really mine.
Thanks. Thank you. But let's look at it, because men have a role to play in society. But I truthfully get the idea sometimes that even they are not quite sure what their role is. Fair?
That's a great observation. Yes, it is actually very fair. And Peter, change for men should be a welcoming idea. COVID has made it, a condition for growth, stability, and everything it represents, stability that is, was taken from many during this crisis, especially men. Situations that didn't frighten the average man now does. For example, losing a secure financial identity. The challenge with roles for men is that they were determined a lot out of fear. What do I mean? I mean that men have used physical external things to describe who they are. And when those things are taken away, men automatically fall into the place of looking for who they are. The second thing is, traditionally speaking, we haven't really been taught what being a man is. And some of us have to raise our boys, for example, blindly. And we make mistakes along the way. Some of us learn lessons quickly. So I would segue and say that in my life, apart from my earthly father, the biggest influence in understanding the responsibility of being a man was through my connection with the Creator. It wasn't an easy experience for me, simply because I do believe that men need to have something physical to represent who they are. And this has been passed down to us through the generations. It is a wrong concept, but it is what we were given. We have to now go ahead and recreate that image of what it is to be a man. And men dealing with mental health during this time is really, really, really difficult, Peter. The telephone calls that I hear from men, and you would find out that I am one of those coaches who tell it like it is, simply because I realize that, easing around an issue rather than addressing it directly doesn't bear fruit for anyone. And so in my experience talking to men, you get the sense of helplessness. You get the sense of powerlessness. And the truth is, men are not empowered, but men have used things to empower them. And the gratification that comes from persons saying, oh, a nice car, beautiful house, great, beautiful woman. But the reality is that man has not sat by himself in a space with his creator, connected to his creator, and derived value from that connection. And I think that now, in this time that we're living, men are, because men are talking to me about spirituality, they're talking about, various forms of connecting to the creator, and saying to me, Dr. Dizzy, I feel lost. I literally don't know what to do. Okay. Some talked about committing suicide. And so, we need to go back to the drawing board, and stop making antidote living. I just want a quick fix. Men need deep healing, systemic healing. We need to be able to heal a lot of those things that we were given as a part of our identity of being a man, the job you have. Because now you don't have the job. Now you don't have the financial security. And so you feel empty and you're searching. This is where guys are going to start turning to drugs and using alcohol. But, through research, I found that men in this period of time seek help when it best suits them, when it's comfortable, and when they feel it makes sense. And that's why men don't go to therapy, because it doesn't make sense to them. However, they would seek a coach because they can identify with the practical application of the principles of planning.
Okay, Adrian, you have mentioned quite a few things there, which I think that is a nice way for us to introduce Mr. Clark from the Bahamas, who is really and truthfully a renowned correctional specialist. He's got over something like 20 years of experience as an elite leader within the criminal justice system in the Bahamas. Yes, he's an icon in correctional services, but he is also a cognitive behavioral specialist. And I welcome you to the Link Up, Mr. Clark. It's certainly nice to have you join us.
And good morning to all of you in Barbados and my Caribbean brothers and sisters who are viewing the link. I'm just humbled to be asked to share on this show.
Have you heard, because it's interesting how even with Dr. Husbands, it's all come through, and it's a nice package, everything linking itself, for want of a better phrase, this morning. Have you had an opportunity to listen to some of the discussion previously?
Yeah, I listened to all of the discussion.
Okay.
Actually.
All right, now go ahead.
I was intrigued. Yeah, I listened to the entire discussion. I was intrigued by the information I received from Dr. Husband, and even the information that Dr. Hazley is sharing with us now. It's like I'm learning so much as I share with you today.
All right, because one of the things that I wanted was real world experience coming from you, and you've got that in spades, and you have had the opportunity to work with men who are in really and truthfully difficult circumstances in there, and they're paying for it, and one wonders, how does one make change, behavioral change, positive change, when faced with circumstances like those?
Well, I will start off with the mantra of my organization, which is the Lead Institute, which is a community correctional organization. Our mantra states that all men fall, but the great ones get back up. You do not drown by falling into the water. You drown by staying there. We do not decide our future. We decide our habits. Our habits decide our future. So basically, to unpack that, men suffer, men are out of place because the loss of our identity. And we can, it's multi-layered in the sense of us losing our identity. We can look back to slavery. We can look back to the loss of our spirituality. We can look back at just the new identity the Western culture has put on us, especially us as black males. And so, as a result of all of this, we have suffered from what we call poor mental health. And, just to define mental health, basically, mental health just basically is a person's condition with regard to their psychological and emotional well being.
No, continue.
Am I still on?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
You are.
Right,
You are.
yes.
You're just on your own now, that's all.
Okay, and so as a result of that, in the field that I work in, the correctional field, where we find some 65% of the offender population suffer from some form of personality disorder, which is called antisocial personality disorder. And these individuals are basically dealt with in a wrong manner or treated wrong. And when I say treated wrong, I'm talking about as a with treatment to help them get over or get back and remain up. It's like treating somebody who has with an aspirin. And that is what we are being treated. Our male men in our correct system throughout the Caribbean. And as a result, they have gotten worse. And like my mentor, Dr. Miles Monroe says that, and I subscribe to that philosophy that the male is the foundation of the family. And by when we say the foundation of a family, when at a house, if the foundation is cracked, and the house is condemned. If you cannot make a bed, if one of the 3 omelet eggs that you're using for omelet is spoiled or rotten, so you're never gonna have a good. So goes the male, so goes the a relation, so goes the male, so goes the family, so goes the male, so goes the community as well as the country. Many of our problems upon males.
Sorry to jump in, but
Go on.
if this is the reality, why then does it seem as if society sometimes can, them to the wayside and deal with other aspects of society? It's almost as if, all right, it needs thing, but not quite sure how to fix, so we'll just leave it there for now.
Right.
I don't understand that.
See, what happens is when we aren't aware of certain things, we react to it. And especially when we talk about emotional intelligence, when we dealing with treatment, and our reaction is negative. And so if we don't have the right set of action, we are going to treat the problem the wrong way, or we got band-aid on the problem, we're gonna mask it, wake up, and hopefully, pig up at lipstick. That's how we deal with the whole situation, and it don't go away. And so we have to get the foundation and deal with the root causes that these men are struggling with. And like Dr. Daisley stated, a lot of times men don't go to therapists. It either is taboo, or they're gonna stigmatize them and say, "Oh,
it's
you're crazy."
Effeminate for some reason. Do that,
right?
Yeah,
and that's why you find men more statistically commit suicide than women. Women, they talk their problems out with their girlfriends. They're going to talk their problems out with a member or a pastor. Whereas we men, we don't like to talk. We think we're going to bottle it up inside. And what happens is it grows, metastasizes, and as a result, it explodes out of control. And we don't see the problem until we see gang violence. We don't see the problem until we see home invasions. We don't see the problem until we see the escalation in crimes throughout our cities.
We're going to take a quick break. Back. I'm going to let Dr. Daisley join the chat, because right now we seem to be going through a space of what I call negative energy when it comes to violence and to crime. And yes, you can say that it's some people are hurting, they need to feed their families, but sometimes I think it might be a little deeper than that. So we're going to take a look at that when we come. Gaining some revolutionary insights on the link up today. We have Dr. Adrian Daisley and Mr. Troy Clark, and just now we were really getting some insight, I do believe, into the behavior and perhaps part of the reason for that behavior in some of our young men, and not only the younger men, men in general. I think I heard someone make a comment that, the modern male is under threat. I wanted to ask them, but it was a conversation I was overhearing. No one was speaking to me, so I wasn't going to jump in. But I thought about it, the modern male under threat. What do you mean by that? What kinds of threats are attacking the modern male, and why is it only the modern male? Have times changed so that it's different for them as it was for the generation before? So Troy mentioned root causes. In your experience, what are some of the causes? Have you defined the reasons for bad behavior? And is that behavior bad, or is it a way of gaining attention? Is it retention? All of those questions. I want a short space of time. Sorry.
Basically, behavior can be from its genesis from either biological, psychological, sociological, and for the most part, it's a learned behavior. So, society needs to construct what is bad from what is good.
And sometimes then, do you think that we are inattentive to when the good ones are going bad? And why are we inattentive?
Because we don't know. We, like the Bible, which what I call the greatest source of literature, tells us, other than spare the rod, spoils the child, other than train a child in the way he or she should go, so that when he or she is older, although it might sway left or right, it'll come back on the same path. Those principles lie through, straight through. And I always tell people, you don't have to be a Christian, you don't have to be, but once you believe in spiritual principles and you adhere to these spiritual principles, it will play out in your life. And so as a result, when we don't treat children, let's say, who have opposition defiant disorder or conduct disorder, when they're small, they graduate from primary school into secondary school, into adulthood beyond the age of 16, from conduct disorder to antisocial personality disorder. And if we would have treated those symptoms or the causes to those symptoms in their earlier stage, then we would not have to deal with the havoc we are now faced with to deal with on our streets, in our homes. in our families today.
How have we failed them, Adrian? What were we missing? What did we see? Can you hear me, Adrian?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Now I can. Have we failed
Okay.
them? What did we miss?
Well, I think we have gone into the generation an idea that it is okay to a problem when it becomes a problem. And in the old time days, I think we've moved away from our values. I was raised with values. Parenting is not an activity that you participate when you feel like it. Parenting is something that you do every single day. You don't only parent your children, you parent other people's children as well. I was raised with the idea that, it takes an entire community. I think we failed them because we are no longer a community that is integrated. We're no longer a community that looks out for that child. We think as long as it's not my child, then it is okay, not realizing that the systems that we put in place, I believe that we have a systemic problem in our country. And I say in our country because I can't speak for, other countries. I can only speak for the experiences that I've had in Barbados. And I can tell you that we have put young people in a quiet place until they either get involved in sports and they become famous, or education and they become famous. But apart from that, we have this, young people should be seen and not heard thing. We have put young people out of, the policy making, decision making process, and made them feel as if I don't give trust, I don't get it. The other thing is that our schools be empowering our children enough. I have had conversations who said to me, my child goes to school and says to my child, you are not going to amount to anything, don't even try. Now, even schools that we even expect this kind of behavior is happening. The other thing, Peter, is that we have become afraid to talk about issues. If I see something going on in my neighbor's yard, in the old time days, I would call my neighbor on the phone. Now I have to be afraid that my neighbor would attack me. Say to me, Dr. Daisy, you don't understand. There are parents that want to adjust for speaking to them about the behavior of their children. Have guidance counseling in school. Guidance counseling is now fun practice where young people are going to guidance counselors. They've been to guidance counselors, but there is no real transformation going on in the lives of young people. I'm an advocate for young people simply because I know what it is like to grow up in a society and feel lost in a society. And I think young people need to feel listened to. They need to feel heard. But apart from that, we need to demonstrate through our policies that we are listening to our young people and putting things in place for them not only to be heard, but for us to make actions on their part as well. Young people say to me,
sorry. No, I'm not sure. Troy, how do we fix it? Unfortunately, my tongue today is lessened. But I'm thinking seriously that we need a longer period of time to really look at this and to thrash this out, because how do you say it? And something tells me that you're going to tell me it's not to be a quick fix, it's not going to be short, it's going to be a long time.
It took us a while to get to where we are and we have the ancient landmark. And because we have moved the landmark, we're going to be worse than the Israel who actually moved the ancient, wandered in the wilderness, and took how many years to a point which should have only took certain amount of time. They took X amount of time. So it'll take the same way, but we can start somewhere, one child at a time. If we decide to look at the man in the mirror and start with ourselves and reflect on our strengths. We can show up our weaknesses and then take on another sister and be accountable to that, and that another person be accountable to us. Then we can begin to fixing the problem. Okay, it has to be, the problem is multi-layered. It has to be fixed in a faceted and multi-layered way.
Wow.
We can start with parenting programs within the schools, start the children from 10, 11, 12, start parenting programs and deal with that generation. Then we can start the children who are problem, make sure when we treating their issues, we put those into parenting problems. And so together we can start in the homes, in the communities, in the churches, and bring legislation to bear upon it, and the process will begin.
Wow.
I know it's a lot, but
I can see that situation fraught with lots of problems itself. We see some parents saying, who gonna mind the other children when I do these programs? I work until 8 o'clock, y'all gonna pay me. If I could be here for 6 o'clock, y'all gonna pay me those 2 hours, you know. Meanwhile, the child's the help is not getting it because, you know, there get blocks placed in front of that help.
It's not only the child, and it's not only the parent, the family. So
right.
You have dysfunction within the family. So you're not parenting, you're not just dealing with the child with the problem, but other family members contribute. You have to be unique. You have to find creative ways, what we call family intervention.
Okay. Can we make a promise that we will have a session on this? Because I'm seeing so many comments, you know, on the and so on, that this ending the violence and this campaigns are not going to work unless dot. So I would like us to find the dots and so thank you for the start. Thank you for the introduction. Looking forward to chatting with you again, and as we dig deep, get deeper.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having
me as well.
Thank you very much.
Stay safe.
You too.
Coming up next, we're going to take a heritage. It's Heritage Month. It's June. Just how are we celebrating it in this time of COVID? In very interesting ways. And we'll find out how after the break. I was asking if Mr. Handyman is logged in yet. Oh, good. Okay, thank you. Standing by.